honest. Oh, shooters! Ah, you do it.
Oh, you do it.
You do it.
You have the honor.
No, you do it. It's very possible. All my childhood friends, teenage friends were usually more males. I don't see any difference in a female and male. They're all just people.
Platonic friendship, I think, is going to be difficult for both men and women because there's a level of difference between how men and women think and react. So I think that will be difficult.
I got the shooter's card. The man and woman cannot be friends. If you know the true meaning of friends, I think there's many conflictions. Everybody has their own desires, and I don't think it's gonna work. Hey, you want to be my friend? No. Exactly.
Why not? I don't think gender is that important in friendship. And my best friend, who is a woman, would really get mad if I answer no to this question. So, yeah, I think it's possible.
I think definitely men and women can be just friends. We can have friends of different ages. Even people are friends with animals, man. I think there's a million different types of friendships. And of course, men and women can be friends.
Yes, I think in theory, men and women can be just friends. But say if my wife had a really close male friend, I'd be really jealous.
Welcome to Shooters. And Shooters, welcome to the show. Hope you had a great week.
Hello.
Yes, we did.
All right. Well, this week we're tackling an age-old question. Can men and women be just friends? It's a question that's been dealt with in books, movies, and perhaps in your own personal relationships. Yet the question remains unsettled. So, what do you think, Shooters? Are you ready to have an honest conversation
Yes.
about love and relationship?
Yes.
We have to be very honest here now, especially you, Barry, okay? So this week, Shooters asks, can men and women be just friends?
Well,
Let's begin. Okay?
in my experience, no, they can't.
Okay.
It's kind of surprising. Why are you guys surprised?
I'm not
I can't be
surprised.
conservative sometimes. Come on.
All right.
I don't think men and women can become friends because, you know, each gender has too much desires to each other, and it could be very conflicted. And I don't care if gays and lesbians trying to be friends with opposite sex, because either way they're biologically different. And in theory, they should be friends, but in reality, I don't think so.
So you're saying that the physical attraction will override any other
Right.
platonic
Right.
relationship? Anyone
Well,
else agree?
But what about if those two people, for one, aren't attracted to each other? Like, that seems to me like a really simple
Yeah, that's a possibility,
case where,
actually.
I mean, that's possible, right? That
Yeah.
someone they could be attracted as friends in terms of having a similar interest or something, but not be attracted on a physical level,
Yeah.
right?
Actually,
or attracted on a relationship level.
I have been discussing this topic with a few of my friends over the weekend, and surprisingly, many people thought that it is not possible for physical reasons. Physically, they can't be, men and women can't be just good friends.
These are male friends that you asked,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Because
They
you
were.
have any feelings?
They were.
Okay.
And I was really surprised because I know that those friends have female friends. So I was
But
like,
they have other
They're
interests.
harboring secret feelings.
I don't know. I don't know what to think about them anymore. So.
You know, actually, because I do have both friends from men and women, but it was surprising the difference in opinion. Like my girlfriend says, like, oh, of course you can be friends with guys and it can be platonic, but the guys are like saying, it's like, no way, like it's actually different. So that was surprising for me, actually. Yeah, it was
come
like,
on.
but. What?
It seems rather shady for men. You're saying that your male friends, they all have girlfriends,
Yeah.
friends who are girls, and yet they acknowledge that you can't really be friends, so they have ulterior motives? Is
I
that
don't know.
right?
I couldn't understand that because from what I know, they are just friends. That's what I know. But
Naji,
now
you keep talking about like your friends. What do you think?
Well, from personal experience, I think it is possible because my best friend is a woman and we have been friends since 4 or 5 years now, and we are just friends.
And you had no feeling from her? Like you didn't
Well,
feel
she's
any...
my friend. I like her and all, like that's for sure.
Like how long were you guys together, like as a friend?
It has been like 5 years now.
And then within that time, you guys never shared any like feelings? How you guys...
We share feelings. We love each other because we are friends.
You're friends,
That's
but
normal.
How do you know that I mean, your girlfriend has a feeling for you? You didn't know that.
Well, I trust her enough
You
to know
trust
that
her
she
enough,
doesn't.
but then like, were there any like rules?
So you are
from the
saying that
beginning?
we are in love with each other and you don't even
Maybe
know
like,
us?
did you guys have a did you guys have a
analogy.
rule from the beginning? Let's not have feelings for each other
No,
sexually.
no, we didn't have any.
So how do you know that girl has any feelings for you sexually?
Because she said she doesn't.
What if she's lying?
You asked? Did
Have
you
you asked?
ask?
No, because people say we know we are best friends and we hang out together a lot.
I mean, during
so
the time...
people ask like you, Charles, exactly. So we are just friends. They're like, yeah, we are just friends, and men and women can be just friends, and we are an
But
example.
did you have that real friendship though? Like
Yeah,
actual
yeah, yeah.
close friendship?
She's there every time. She's there every time I need her, and I'm there every time she needs me. I talk to men and women in the same way.
Really?
So I don't know how you talk to men and
you know,
women, but I talk to them in the same way.
On that note, actually, I'm going to ask if maybe the difference is actually lies in the way men and women think, because like there are some things that I really cannot talk about with my guy friends. Not because they probably, like for instance, like instances where you get catcalls. They can't quite they get it, but they can't quite know the
Relate.
reason because they haven't been catcalled that often. So I guess the question is like the experiences are a little different coming from both genders.
So the friendships are different, right?
Yes.
With your own sex friends and then a different
The
sex
opposite
friends,
sex
right? The
friends,
opposite
right.
sex friends. Now, Barry, you've been rather quiet, and I know that you're trying to avoid our questions and maybe even our little sites. So, what have your experience been as a newly married man?
Well, my natural inclination towards answering the question would be that yes, of course, men and women can be friends. But however, when I started doing the research into the subject, I quickly realized that perhaps I'd been oblivious to lots of the ways or the intricate ways that relationships between men and women operate. And I think I'm not a very alpha male. I'm not a very predatory kind of male. I'm sure I fooled you all this long, but really.
You're a predator on the show.
And so I have more red-blooded male friends, and when I spoke to them, I sort of reached out and asked some people, and they had a very clear answer that no, it isn't realistic to have a friendship with women. And several of my male friends told me they'd never had a female friend.
Wow.
And again, what you've mentioned, Marge, about this idea of disconnect between what people understand as the concept or the nature of the relationship, I think it's actually, according to different sort of researchers and people who've looked into it, it's actually, there's a lot of problems there. And so I thought it was much more difficult than it might
So you sort of
initially seem to
avoided
be.
answering the question, but we'll get back to you later.
Okay.
I was actually talking to my friends as well, and I have guy friends and girlfriends too, but it seems like the common sort of answer is that there needs to be at least a little bit of attraction, especially in the initial stages. I mean, it happens even for girlfriends as well, of the same sex.
I think
There's
that's
something that
okay,
attracts
right?
you,
Like,
and for
if you want
opposite
to be
sex,
friends.
there's a little bit of a physical attraction that goes into that as well. Whether it develops into something more beyond friendship or not, that's another issue. But there's initial attraction. And especially for men, my guy friends would say, we won't be friends with someone we don't think is attractive.
Really?
Wow.
What kind of friends
What
do you
kind-
have?
They find me attractive. Just kidding, but
Wow.
really?
No,
You
like,
find
because
that
what kind
surprising?
of relationship this is gonna be if
Yeah.
you are like building it based on looks and
It
attraction?
starts with that.
Starts
But
with
you know
that.
what?
Look at
Well,
it.
how is
I
it gonna end
actually-
then?
I
started
How is
my-
it gonna end then if
Like
it starts like
Lucasism.
this?
We're back at
To
Lucasism.
look at, from my personal experience, I had mostly guy friends because I think as a child I had more boyish interests. So most of my friends, my childhood friends, were actually guys. And like later in life, I never thought about anything like that. Oh, maybe I like him because he's a boy. Like during break times, I prefer playing soccer than sitting and gossiping with other girls.
So probably a lot of those guys really liked you.
That's
No.
Who plays soccer with us, man?
And like Nadia, my best friend since I was like 12 or 13, he's a male. We share a lot together. And whether you say if he ever had any attraction to me as a girl, that never happened.
You would have known
I mean,
anyway.
within my experience, like all my workers, they're guys, and we have one girl only. And then when we're on meeting, we're like, "Hey man, like how's it going, brother? Like this girl, that girl." We're all talking about girls. Until that girl comes over, we're like,
See, that's my same situation. I'm
okay,
the
different
only girl
topic.
in my office, and I come
just feel
in
so
and I join
uncomfortable.
their talk, and I'm like, yeah, I think she's very attractive that way too. And they don't.
yeah, but then they can't exactly talk about what guys are talking about. Like
I
next to you, in
think
front of
in
you.
groups of-
You say you might be, but you're still a girl, and then we just
No.
can't talk about it.
You know what
certain
though?
things.
But I mean, I understand what you're saying, but it also goes the other way. If you have, as a guy, the things that I would talk about with some of my girlfriends are totally different than what I talk about with my guy friends. So I feel like that's a situation where there's an advantage to
Not-
both types of relationships. Like I don't seek
But
to
then
talk
For
to all my
me, it
friends in the
depends on
same
the
way.
friend, like what relationship I have to that friend.
Not the sex of
No,
I mean,
not
Nadia,
the
you say you're
gender.
talking about your best friend is a girl, right? Have you actually hung out with all her girlfriends and you're the only guy?
But can you ask the question again?
I mean, you
because
said-
I feel like I don't have to make mistakes here. So go ahead.
I'm
Again.
gonna make you make mistakes, brother.
Again.
Have you ever had a situation where you hung out with all her girlfriends and you're the only guy?
Yeah.
I don't think they would talk about all girls talking about it. Did.
Yes,
I don't
think
know
so.
what they talk about.
You
when
don't
I'm
know
not
what to talk
there,
about because they don't
but-
talk about it
I
in front
don't.
of you.
I
Yeah,
don't.
probably not.
Yeah, that's
Probably
not really close, like bonding friend because
Danny, I wanted to ask you, you said that there are certain things that you won't talk about with your guy friends, but you'll talk about with your girlfriends?
Yeah.
Like what?
What would that be? Well, I guess it would be stuff that I wouldn't want to tell my, like, definitely with my male friends, I'm gonna emphasize my strengths a lot more. I'm gonna want to like not show that I have any cracks. And I think I would discuss some more sensitive or certain personal issues with girlfriends, or especially romantic stuff. Like I have some girlfriends who have helped me in my relationship with my girlfriend, and those are things that guys are really pathetic, I think, at understanding women. And it's not that women aren't easy to understand either, I think, but it's very good to have female friends so that you can understand half of the world.
Like having
better,
an
you
insider.
know?
Okay, well, on that note, I think it'd be a good time to find out what our viewers thought about this issue. We've been having this question online for the past week, and here are the results. Let's take a look. So the results of the online poll are pretty close, actually. For yes, we had 47.6%, and for no, 52.4%. And we also got 2 comments, both of whom I think said no. And let me just read you one comment from SHJ0924. I don't think men and women can be real friends. Even though one side thinks the other side as a friend and has no love-related feelings, you can't be sure about the other side's. And also, I saw many cases of couples who started from a friendship. And the other comment also says, nope, I don't think true friendship can exist between a man and a woman. So that's the online poll. But it kind of raises an interesting question. It might be a little bit too broad as well. But I wanted to ask you, what do you define as a friendship, a real friendship, you know? Like a real friend.
I did look it up to try and see like
Really?
if someone has actually defined it, and someone said like, it's rare because the time spent together is effortless. Neither party keeps score about anything serious, no gossip, no jealousy, and always a judgment-free zone between the two of you. And it seems like a fairly good definition of what a true friendship would
And that's
be.
what you agree with?
Yes, like I could say I'm friends with 100 people, but if you really break it down, a lot of them are really just acquaintances.
Yeah.
And in terms of like real friendship that you're willing to open up a good portion of your life to, I have very, very few close friends.
you know, when it comes to a word friend, the only thing that I could think of is a movie Chingu in a Korean movie. And I brought it up here again, pictures of the movie Chingu, the friends, and then the girl version of Chingu, Sunny. And you know, the movie, I really love the movie Chingu, and I show all to my American friends, you better watch that movie. It's real friendship, and it's real brotherhood. And I don't think only brotherhood and sisterhood can be friends, but when it comes to the movie, there's a quote that says, I actually wrote it down here. I've never felt resentment coming from you. Aren't we the bastards who live by being told what to do? And the other guy disagrees with him, but then he thinks about it because even though they're rivalry gangsters, they still have that brotherhood inside, you know?
So those are two
And then
different
he
movies?
actually says like, can you please go to Hawaii? And then when the time passes by, we could all be living happily after. And then I'll set up everything for you. And Dongsu, he just gets angry and he goes, you go to Hawaii. You know, it's so brotherhood, like it's so awesome, that bond right there. And then even though he denies him, well, why don't you go to Hawaii? He goes, you know what? Okay, I'll go to Hawaii. For our friendship, I understand where you're coming from, I respect you. But then when it comes to men and women, I don't think that actually has that like real bonding, you know? That's just my opinion. And I've never had any girls trying to see me as a best friend. And if they did, they're wrong because if they have a feeling for me, I don't think that's like very friendship. And I'm not only talking about this movie, but if you watch the movie No Strings Attached with Justin Timberlake and Mila Kunis, you know, they started as a friend and then friends with benefit, you know, but they end up being a couple. They actually agree saying like, let's not love each other, but then in the end they do.
When you're describing that brotherhood in that movie, I felt like I was one of those bros too in my friendships.
You ain't bro.
I am a bro. I am a bro.
But this idea that Charles is mentioning is actually very common. So even very famous people who seem like very liberal-minded people. So I remember reading an interview with George Clooney and Mark Wahlberg where they talked about they hadn't had any female friends. George Clooney was saying that up until he was much older, you know, so he was well into his 40s before he had a female friend who we'd actually call a friend, and that Mark Wahlberg replied that he'd never experienced this idea. So women were always, you know, a potential mate or a potential lover.
I have
or
a question on that. Like, would the age when you had this opposite gender friend matter? Because, like, you were saying you had your guy friends, close friend, when you were younger, and then at that point, you know, nothing really sexual at that point, right?
Really, we were teenagers.
Oh, were you? Okay,
That
then
stops here.
that's totally
in
different. Right
Sweden,
on it.
you know, they all,
Okay. No, but I'm just saying, like, you know, like, maybe not you, but any, you know, maybe that could happen if you had it.
I mean, I understand what everybody's saying. It is feasible. You can have relationships with the opposite sex, but I think it's actually a lot of very difficult things in the way, the misconceptions and things. And I think at the root of it all, there's just a biological imperative. There's just a Darwinian kind of principle going on here, right?
Yes.
So that men have to see potential sex mate in everything just because
Barry
they
the Predator
need
coming
to.
out.
Once again, it rears its head.
But we are, right, essentially, to keep the race going. That has to be in there at some point.
Tell
you know?
Japan that.
So.
Okay, right now I think the conversation is becoming very divided now among the two teams. So at this point, why don't we just divide up and head into the arm race and just develop a stance now. You have to state your stance on this very sort of sensitive and age-old issue. So who among you believe that men and women can just be friends? Who says yes?
Yes.
Obviously, Naji, one of the bros, and Danny. Okay, and the other three obviously think
One of the bros.
no, just friends. Okay, so it's time to head into the arm race and gear up, shooters.
Okay, let's go.
You have a relationship like that, so do you, so do I. Even if you're someone who doesn't think you can, in 2015, you're gonna have to learn how to.
We have animal instincts, but we also have brains and logic.
We should see beyond gender. A friend is a person, not a gender. Female and male can be friends is a good step towards gender equality.
I see not appropriate to look at women only in that way.
It's so boring if I always had that mentality.
Exactly.
I wouldn't have all these awesome friends that I had.
Friendship for me is all about actions, not feelings.
I have a lot of guy friends, lots of them. Well, good for them. They are all in a friend zone. They'll be virgin for their eternal life, all right? But then how many of them do really think of you as a real bonding friend?
Men are biologically compelled to seek out mating opportunities
yes,
all
yeah.
the time. That's the reason why a lot of friendships develop into relationships afterwards. Wives, their partners are uncomfortable with them having me always around. It's
My
not
wife
like-
had a male friend who was always around.
like
Men talk about certain things that girls don't talk about. Girls talk about certain things.
So shooters, you're back from your armories, armed and ready, I hope, for this
Yep.
very
are.
serious
Oh,
yeah.
debate.
We'll go right on.
Consequences of which will have some serious consequences and repercussions on your personal lives, I think. Very serious issue, guys, here. Okay, so from now on, any changes in your opinions will be tracked by a gauge. Everyone starts at 100% convinced of your own side's opinion. Of course, when the opposing team says something reasonable or even convincing, you will press on the minus button. And of course, the opposite holds true if your own teammate says something reasonable as well. Only the viewers and I will know where your gauges stand at any particular moment. And we're going to begin with the yes team, of course, who do believe that men and women can just be friends. What is your argument?
You know, it was so nice sitting back there with my male friends. So awkward for you. It must have been really awkward for you sitting there. But we were sharing.
We're not friends. We're just coming to the show together. That's all.
But we were sharing personal experiences and just talking generally how sad life would be if we wouldn't have the opposite gender friends. And what our conclusion was that a friend is not a gender, it's a person.
wow.
We also
Wow.
thought it would be kind of silly if you eliminate half of the world's population from your potential friend list just because you think you might get attracted to them after you get to know them. So yeah, maybe you have to rethink things again.
And Dana, do you have anything to add?
No, that's it.
Should be fine for now.
All right. Very confident.
What we said.
All right.
That's what they say.
Friend
That's
is
what
not
she
a
said.
gender, it's a person. The no side, what do you say to that?
Well, like, we're not just saying that you can totally not be friends with someone. We just think that there's a different aspect to opposite sex friendship. Is that there's some level of jealousy, confusion over the status of a relationship, or reciprocation of attention in most of the opposite gender relationship. And those are the things that really are not going to be present in the same gender relationship. There's a fundamental difference, I guess, in how men and women approach opposite gender friendship rather than same gender friendship. And it's not necessarily based on biases, but it's more based on experiences.
Barry, you're next.
Okay, I see. Well, well, I'm going to echo what my colleague said here,
Not your
my
friend.
colleague. And I think we really have to focus on this idea of biological determinism because it's at the root of a lot of our relationships, and it's a very important concept which has shaped how we relate to one another and shaped very large parts of our cultures, of lots of cultures across the world. Now, the simple fact of the matter is that men are genetically hardwired and have been for eons, since time began, to seek out mating opportunities. Okay, that's just a fundamental part of what the species is.
Like
So men.
hardwire in
And
the
what's the
That's
DNA
female
right.
of
role in
parenthood.
that?
Well, it's interesting because studies show that whereas men are overwhelmingly they perceive sexual interest from female partners. Women
friends?
underperceive the amount of sexual interest from friends, and so.
Do you mean, just to clarify, so men believe that their female friends would be interested in them sexually
Yes.
when they're
Yeah.
not?
Yes,
And
that's
women
right.
believe, oh, there's no sexual tension when
Exactly.
there is. Okay.
Exactly. Yes.
So
Which
you
kind of
believe all your
reflected
female
when I
friends-
asked it from my different, from friends of different genders. So.
But I think that's a huge issue. That's the elephant in the room that you guys need to address. Is just the simple biological fact of
Yes.
what relationships are
Well,
and how they happen.
I haven't.
I get that. I get the basic instincts kind of thing, but we have brains too. Like we're not just animals, and this is something that you can think through. And also biologically, so there's the one half of the argument against that is use your brain. The other half, everyday life involves controlling your instincts, right? Not just your sexual instincts. And also the other argument is you're not attracted to everyone from the opposite sex sexually, but you might be attracted as a friend. And that's a very real fact too. So I mean, to us three, that just seems ridiculous that you couldn't have a friend from the opposite sex for both of those reasons.
Naji, I haven't seen you in 2 weeks. I want to ask you a lot of
Oh my
questions.
God! Yeah. Go ahead. Let's just remind you that today's topic is not about me, but yeah. Go ahead.
You said you have a friend for 5 years, and
We all do, by the way.
Yeah.
Friends from the opposite sex.
I even longer year than
okay,
you.
well, are you really close with your friend?
I think we are.
You think you are, but you're not sure.
Yeah, that's what I said. I think we are.
Liars.
This is like
David's got like,
No, this is one thing that we talked about.
no,
though,
but I
that
haven't finished the
this
question.
is-
Hold on a
Okay,
second.
go on.
Finish.
Are you
All right, I'll
really
let you.
close with your friend?
I think we are.
Do you think about her throughout the day?
No, I don't.
How can you call yourself you're really close with your like with
Do
your
you
friend?
think about all your friend
Male
guys
friends?
throughout the day?
Pretty much.
You're
I'm like,
obsessed
dude, like
with
we're
that.
gonna do this, we're gonna do that. Let's get down and drink
No,
some beer.
that's-
Honestly, like, let me give you an example.
That's thinking about what you're gonna do with your friends.
I mean, let's say
not
you're
thinking
really, really
about
close
the
with your friend, but let's say you get a
himself.
girlfriend, right? How are you gonna handle with your close friend and then your girlfriend?
No,
Down.
because there's like this issue, you know, when you go to more conservative countries like the Arab region, the Middle East in general, where we are Muslims, we are not allowed to have sex till after marriage. This is not an issue.
But you just said you're
But
very
then,
different from your Arabic regions and
sorry.
Muslim people.
Sorry.
Well, everyone is different in his
Sorry,
own way.
Okay, but I mean, before the argument goes somewhere else, I just wanted you to maybe address their main point, which is the fundamental difference between men and women, and also in how men and women perceive friendships differently as well. That's the research results that they are bringing to the table. What do you say to that?
I feel like that's such an ancient thought. Because like I grew up in an environment where for every weekend we did house cleaning in my house. And my mom didn't tell me you have to be with me in the kitchen, you have to vacuum or things like that. I could be with my dad too, helping him in the garage and things like that. And like growing up playing with my I could choose whoever I wanted to play with. Some of my male cousins that were playing with, like I said, Star Wars stories or things like that. I think that's very important growing up like that, not stereotyping, but if you say that female and male cannot be friends, that's one step towards a backwards gender equality.
No, here's the
Definitely.
thing though, this is not an old study. This is actually a fairly recent study.
What
And
study?
it's this was a study by Blask and Buss in 2000, and it's among college students.
College
College
students.
students.
And it's but,
We were expecting that.
What about
but
college
it's
Well,
but-
college
but-
students, I mean,
what's wrong
That's
with
hormones
Hold on.
everywhere.
Look, she didn't
on.
finish. Let the
Hold on.
woman go.
Exactly. Let me finish. So, but this is in a fairly gender equal country, and so you have to look at that. What's actually different is what the different sex were looking for the friendship in an opposite gender sex. So apparently, men were looking like for self-esteem boost, conversation partners, and the women were looking for security. And that's not necessarily what you're going to be looking for in the same gender friendship.
Honestly, let me tell you.
So there's like a fundamental difference between how you approach something.
You said, I got a lot of guy friends. Good for you. That's what you think. But do all those guys think you as a real friend, though? Do you think so?
Oh my God, yes.
That's what you think. Truly ask them. A lot of
That's
guys.
what you think.
yeah.
Honestly, like,
That's what-
I feel
yeah,
like I know
exactly.
my friends better than you do.
yeah, but then like,
But I do want to, what you mentioned, this study, it was based on 88 people. And these people might
So
have,
you know the study then?
Yeah, I've read a lot about this. And this study was made 88 college students, and their backgrounds could be different. They could have been affected by Hollywood movies, like series like Friends or How I Met Your Mother. All these stories have this, you're not supposed to have this kind of love. This sells in
But don't
Hollywood,
you-
and that's
but-
what feed all these people with this
Exactly.
mentality.
Exactly.
But don't you also think that in some way art does reflect reality? Like that's
No.
the reason why it sells.
I think
though.
where you see that is that we're talking about entertainment. That's a much more interesting Hollywood movie, the one where the friends become romantically
Lovers.
involved, passionate lovers versus the friends, then they just had a great friendship until the end. But
Yeah.
the fact is that does happen in real life.
That's a bad
We have
ending.
relationships like that. I'm sure that you guys have friends outside of us who have a friend from the opposite sex. It doesn't mean that it happens all the time. We know that sometimes it becomes romantic, but there are definitely platonic opposite sex friendships, and to think that there isn't is like, that's just,
I
it's just
think you guys
pathetic,
just
man.
talk
It
about
doesn't
friends.
make any sense.
The definition of friends is so easy. Honestly, like look at Facebook friends and mutual friends and intimate friends, like platonic friends. Honestly, you guys don't know the real, true meaning of friends. That's
Enlighten
gone.
us, Cheryl.
Can you tell me what a
Please,
real friend
because
is?
I don't
Honestly,
have
let me
real
tell
friends.
you. Right. Let's say I broke up with my girlfriend. I'm so sad. I will call Barry. Hey, I'm sorry. Hey, Barry, I'm so sad, dude. I need a friend. Can you come out with me? Even though if he says like, nah, dude, I got no time. If he's my really true friends, he would do that. And we will go out, we'll drink, blah, 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 drink. I can stand up, Barry. You just show me the example.
Stand
Honestly,
up, come on.
Dude, if
Take
you're
one
drunk
for
and
the
I'm
team.
so drunk, he could take care of me like, oh, man,
of course.
I love you, man. I can do this to him, all right?
That's
I can be
wonderful.
like, dude, like, I love you, bro. But then
don't
if I
think
called
he's
her
loving
up, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go by taxi, you know, like,
Really?
nice talking to you. I can't be like, bro, I can't do that. If I do that, she's gonna look at me weak.
No,
like,
you
Dude,
can't,
you're
you
missing
can't
out
grow
on
me like
so
that.
much,
You're,
man. You're missing out.
Coming up with the like whole experience. Like I did that with some girls, like some girls like long time ago, and after
Okay.
they stopped talking to me. They're like, if you're a real man, like.
Okay,
They looked at me, like, very
you
down.
acted and you walked around and so I'm gonna talk
I mean,
now.
like what? I mean,
No,
you have yourself.
are you done?
You have a
Charles,
girlfriend.
let him
I
talk
mean,
now.
I mean,
Let
you
him
have a
talk
girlfriend.
now.
I mean, if you hang out with your like friends who are girls, like, don't your girlfriend get like very jealous?
Do I have to talk now? Because they just must have lost so many points.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean,
I think
please
you
explain.
just
No,
keep
go ahead,
digging
go.
yourself deeper. Like, how does what he said make you feel? That's what I want to know. When he just said that, you know, when you hear a man saying, "Oh, I can, if I have a hard time, I could only go to a guy. I couldn't go to any
And he can only have
female because
beer
heaven
with his
forbid
bros."
I
You
would
know,
either
but
like. What
here's-
do you think about that?
No, here's the thing though.
Don't you
There
think it's
is-
a little bit silly? What everything that he just said?
Here's the thing.
But that's reality.
But
She
here-
can't say
no,
that.
no,
They
no,
are on
no,
the same
no, no,
team.
no, no.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
let me think about it. No, but this.
We'll give you a minute then, shall we?
No, here. But I think everyone does have a different level of comfort. And I'm saying, like, you know, if he's dead drunk, I can't carry him home.
You can call a taxi.
I've carried my male drunk friends.
This is-
It's no, I'm just saying that there are different ways.
There are
that-
women who could carry him home.
Well, then good for
Definitely.
them.
Swedish women.
But you're mocking what Charles is
Yes,
saying.
I
But
am.
Charles, what Charles is saying does
There is some valid points
Okay.
to
yeah, it
it.
does
ahead.
reflect the thinking of a huge section of society, of
Men.
male culture, and the male culture that's promoted or propagated in male magazines and lifestyle magazines. This is often the attitude that's celebrated in a way, is not to relate to women like that. I mean, a lot of in Britain during the 90s and into the 2000s, there was a spate of men's magazines which promoted this concept that women were conquests. You know, women aren't your friends. You know, this is the.
But are they really?
This is like the neo
Right, yeah, I mean,
Are they
No,
really?
very.
But that does exist for a lot of people, and it's a valid experience. Like we mentioned anecdotally, people like
Very,
George Clooney.
I have to say this. Isn't that objectifying women?
It is objectifying
But
women,
isn't
but
that bad?
it happens. Of course, it's
Well, I mean,
bad,
objectifying
but-
women is a bad thing, but they did raise a point. When you say that media and all these different types of magazine or types of media are perpetuating maybe this sort of notion that women should be conquests, does that mean that they can't be friends? Just because media is saying that or
I really want
perpetuating
to be
this
your
image?
friend.
That's
But
what they
I think
asked you,
what
Barry.
comes from that, where that comes from, and if you look at, for instance, one of your favorite movies, could Han and Leia just be friends? I don't think so.
They
Now-
had feelings from the beginning.
Najee,
Well, no,
when you have a
she
future
didn't like
wife, how are you
him,
going
but
to handle
that's
with
not
your current best friend right now?
She's gonna still be best friend.
But
It's not gonna change just because I have a wife.
what if your wife or your girlfriend gets very jealous and tells you not to do it?
Who's
You're not
that?
to hang out with her because she gets very jealous.
Who would say what?
His
Again?
future wife, he's asking what your future wife...
If your future
I'm
wife
not even
or
sure if
future
I'm gonna
girlfriend-
get married, but well, yeah,
But
go ahead.
Nashi may need a moment to think about that. So while we give you a moment to think about that, let's go to the VCR and see what the people on the streets of Seoul thought about this very inflammatory issue, shall we?
Why do we always film Seoul? Why can't we go to Busan?
뭔가 좀 좋아하는 게 있으니까 또 만나는 거 아니겠어요?
If there's no romantic tension between a man and a woman, then people are just people.
남자는 이렇게 생각하지만 여자는 또 다르게 받아들인다니까요. 그게 어떻게 같을 수 있어요?
이제 남녀 간에 호감이 생기면 사귀던지 아니면 정말 어색해지던지.
친하면 이성적인 감정이 생기는 경우도 있을 수 있는데 아닌 경우가 좀 더 많았던 것 같아서 그냥
술 안 먹으면 같이 단둘이 술 안 먹으면 친구가 될 수 있다 생각.
자기들끼리 친구라고 하는 애들도 결국에는 한쪽 일방적으로 좋아하는 경우나 그런 경우가 대부분이라서.
So the results of the street poll was a little bit different from our online poll. There were, I think, more yeses slightly outnumbering the nos, but it was quite interesting to see how most of the male respondents said, no, they can't just be friends. Whereas most of the women said, hey, why not? As long as they don't drink together. Seemed to be the opinion of one woman.
I don't drink anyway.
Yes, so maybe that's why it works. But they did mention one or two words in particular quite often, I think, sexual attraction or sexual tension. And this has also been cited by a lot of researchers as being sort of the major obstacle to friends of different sexes having a true friendship. And I'd like to hear what the Yes team says about that.
Well,
How
I
do you
think
address that?
I've got two opinions on that, or two examples. One is there can still be a time when two people just aren't sexually attracted and they're of the opposite sex. That's a possibility, and you could be friends, right? Another one, you don't think that's possible?
No, I'm just looking at you.
Okay. The second one is, I know people who were initially sexually involved, the relationship didn't work out, and they became friends. And that's a very real thing, and that happens. Both of these things happen in the world. Like,
And in your world too, right?
I'm friends with one of my exes, and we're good friends. And I know other people who have had that happen too. And I think it is rare. I think we know that, like we all know that. It's more rare to have an opposite sex friendship, but it is possible and it is real.
Okay. I mean, one survey I thought was quite interesting. It said that many female respondents in the survey said that the sexual tension actually made it more difficult or uncomfortable to pursue a friendship with a guy. So that made them, sort of hesitant to pursue that friendship. Whereas the men said actually it's that tension that actually wants them or spurs them to pursue a friendship with a woman.
I think that's kind of silly. Guys that think like that. I think guys that think like that, they're already giving it no chance for friendship, thinking that you need to start with that.
You're missing out on so
But why
much.
can't you maintain that tension? I mean, and in a friendship, is that so wrong?
No, but
I don't think it's wrong either.
Why must there be that kind of tension? Like, I don't have that with my female friends. Why do I have that with my male friends?
Because I think biologically there's that.
But we're beyond
I know, but
biological
I think
instincts. Our brains are born.
subliminally there is that. You might not acknowledge it. You might not even know it. But it's supposed to be there, and that was one of the studies under evolutionary psychology. Was that they found out that it was a subliminal message. You're not aware. You go in with all the best intentions, like, okay, this is a platonic relationship, and because it was there, it does develop into something else. And one of the other fascinating studies I saw was that. One of the differences is that when men, they kind of felt like being friend zoned. There's the whole reason of friend zone, right?
He's into that.
Because you go into a relationship apparently looking for something, and that's the whole reason why you get friend zoned, right? And then the other is that men who actually go into have a sexual relationship with their friends are the ones who are just, no, we're still just friends, even though they engaged in a sexual relationship. Within the relationship, they were like, no, we're just friends. But then the women weren't like, no, we're kind of more than that. So that level of perception, I think, is kind of fundamental that differentiates it from the same gender friendship.
No, when you were saying this biological instinct, that's just, when you say that, it makes me think, am I attracted to every guy that I meet? No,
Yeah, right.
I'm not. I like friendship and that other attraction is two different things. If you see
Right,
the
and
word
that's-
black and white, then
It's a
it's
good
really
point.
boring.
Right.
I kind of
Very-
contest, though, that at some level, the reason why you're friends with someone is that you like something about them, right? Like,
Or
even when-
everything about them.
Exactly. So you can't just normally just like, okay, let's just be clear. At some point, that is a very gray area. You can't just, just like, you know what, let me just separate everything. You can't dissect it that way, right?
You're saying that when you
It's
like
easy
someone
to
as a
merge something.
friend, but
It's
then-
easy to have that attraction. That's the reason why. You know what? We're so compatible together. And sometimes you just transcend whatever you look like, the sexual attraction, and then it develops later because you like them as a person.
But I see that
But you can't have that
But
preference,
I don't
right?
think you've really answered her question or their question, their point being that you're not attracted to everyone of the opposite sex.
Right.
And does that mean that you can't have a friendship with them even when you're not attracted?
It's not that, because when let's say I do hang out with the girl, I just can't talk about certain things that I talk with guys.
Like what?
You want me to talk on TV? I'll talk about everything. It becomes very sexual.
Yeah. Okay, so Charles, though,
Not only sexual, but for example, let's say
Charles,
I want to talk about like UFC. I want to talk about like all this man brotherhood stuff, and you know I feel more comfortable.
UFC is not just a man thing.
I know, but I'm just giving an example.
Charles, that's not even for argument's sake, just man to man. Consider having a friendship with a woman. It's a whole different kind of friendship, and the point isn't that it's the same as what a guy friend is. You have different topics and different things that you talk about, and you have different challenges too. With guys always have the challenge of competition and this kind of thing, right? Trying to outdo one another. And definitely one of the challenges with an opposite sex relationship is you both have to be aware that there can be a fine line, and there are things that you expect of a friend and don't expect of a friend, and you're required to not cross certain lines, right? That is a part of those relationships. So I think there's a complexity. I think that it's somewhat rare, but I think it's something that everyone should open themselves up to.
So the Yes team is closing this part of the debate, saying that having friends with the opposite sex could actually enrich your life. It's a learning experience, something that maybe you have to open your mind to. And I see that some minds and some opinions have been shifting during this first part of the argument. So right now what we're going to do is go and head back into the armories, regroup your arguments, and then come back, okay?
Okay.
So shooters, back into the armories.
All right.
Go.
Love and friendships has many shapes.
Always arguing about this inner biological instinct we have to be attracted to the opposite gender. Don't limit yourself and how you perceive the world.
It's not just about reproduction.
Make friends with men who don't think that way.
I am more comfortable dating a guy who has female friends because he would easily understand me as well.
Men can't be friends with gay men, and women can't be friends with gay women.
But even if you take away the sexual interest, there are limits to friendship with your guys.
So friendships are overwhelmingly based on attraction.
Your friends of the opposite sex, do you think they have never thought of you that way?
There's other countries in the world where men and women just aren't friends.
Physically, biologically, mentally, like women and men, we're very rarely. We're very, very different.
Men replied frequently that sexual attraction was a prime reason for initiating a friendship.
So you're back from the armories. Hopefully you had a chance to re-strategize. And since the Yes team kind of had the final word, and before we went back to the armories, I'll give the first chance, or the first shot rather, to the No team.
Good luck.
Go ahead.
Charles, take it away.
Oh, no. You go first.
Okay.
That's not often a unified start. Well, let's see. Let's go back to one of the main things that we've been talking about, which is the idea of chemistry, right, in relationships. Now, I think you all have to recognize that on some level in all of your friendships and all of your relationships, that there is some degree of chemistry involved in those relationships, right? So don't scowl at me. When I think of my female friends are from when I was younger, but there was an element of chemistry there, so that even if you're not actively pursuing a romantic relationship, there's sort of a tacit understanding that this could be a relationship for me. I could have a sustainable relationship with this person, or on some level I'd be happy to pursue a relationship with that person.
Like friendship, for example. Friendship is a relationship.
I think, like a romantic relationship.
Okay.
But there needs to be some type of chemistry, and what you're saying are platonic relationships. There needs to be some type of non-platonic chemistry for those relationships to exist. I would think in a very large percentage of cases.
Like, ask yourself if your friendship is interfering or nurturing a romantic relationship.
Interfering or nurturing your romantic relationship?
Can we come back to that in a second? So the idea that I'm putting to you is that a significant portion of relationships, and I bet of your cross-sex relationships, there is chemistry of a non-platonic nature involved at some level in a significant proportion of those relationships.
Do you acknowledge, or yes or
I'm
no?
not sure. Chemistry, I think you need to have chemistry in any kind of relationship, whether it's like at work or friendship or romantic. Like, chemistry needs to be there. Otherwise, you would be on two different levels and the relationship wouldn't work.
Specifically, a nugget of romantic chemistry involved in your cross-sex relationships?
No, for me, I would say there is chemistry. Romantic chemistry, I don't think so.
The potential-
No, from personal experience. This is what I believe.
But one of the studies we saw that was that in some opposite gender relationship, a good portion of the people actually suspected their opposite gender friend to have some level of secret romantic interest. So it's not obvious, they don't talk about it, but it is apparently there. And whether or not it's true, their perception is that it is there. So this is a real study. Like, it's not just, your personal experience. You would always think, oh, this is a platonic relationship, and that's how you approach it.
So are you saying that real or unreal or imaginary, that perceived chemistry or romantic interest, therefore
changes.
or it changes, so that doesn't make it a real friendship? Is
No,
that
but
your
it
argument?
changes the nature of the relationship.
So it's not a real friendship, is that what
I'm
you're saying?
saying that it's going to be a different type of friendship than what you have with the same gender friendship.
Yes, but that's not the question. The question is it possible to have friendships
very
with someone
rare.
from the opposite sex? And the answer is yes, it can. And also, what the distinction you're making with friendship there, I would agree it's a different kind of friendship. But you know what? It's a different kind of friendship. The friendship I have with a 50-year-old guy friend and a 20-year-old guy friend. That's different too. And it's a different relationship that I would have with an older or younger woman or any number of different people. I have friends who are gay men. I have friends who are straight men. I have friends who are women. I have friends who are lesbian women. With all these people, it's a different relationship, and it's not all about reproduction. It's not all about biology. Friendship and love has so many shapes, and this is definitely one of them. It's definitely real. And even there are same or opposite sex friendships, I believe, where people can be somewhat attracted to each other and keep that in check and be open about that. Just like two male friends might have things that they don't touch. There's a certain level of trust in relationships where you might have a guy friend where you say, you know what, we don't talk about politics because we know we'll kill each other. Or we don't talk about this issue, we don't talk about race because it would ruin our friendship. And I think that there is definitely people who have an opposite sex friendship where they go, you know what, we don't even get into this because we value our friendship so much. You know what I mean? Like these are all, and that's the exception. There's also the case where they're not even attracted. You know.
Dude, Danny, thank you so much for talking about strong point. That was really nice talk.
You changed the way
But guess what? You know what? I'm gonna ask Barry a question.
Changing
totally
hearts.
different topic. All right. But what if you have yourself a wife, right?
I have myself a wife, yes.
I'm just
I got
talking.
one
Let me
of
talk.
those
All right.
earlier
Let's
this
say
year.
your wife has a best friend.
Yes.
She's like, oh, I have a best friend, and I want to go on I want to hang out with him. And you're like, oh, him? All right, go ahead. And how would you feel when you're waiting at home and you're thinking that your wife is having a platonic friendship?
Oh, okay. I understand where you're going. Well,
And you are on the same team, so I think
let me
we all
ask you,
know
how
where
would
you're
you feel?
going with that.
I want to reply to that. Thank you.
well, no, but I do understand what Charles is saying, even if it was very melodramatic, the way that you put the question.
It has to be very dramatic. Yes.
But no, I do. I have to say that I would be, although I trust my wife and believe that she cares for me deeply, but I'd be ridiculously jealous if my wife had a very close same-sex friend that she was spending a lot of time with. I mean,
I'm sure they.
Okay, but let
Sorry,
Angela.
Angelina.
Thanks. In my personal experience, and also talking with a lot of my female friends about this, I do prefer a potential boyfriend who has a lot of female friends. Because one, he could also understand me better. And I had that experience, an ex-boyfriend who had many female friends, and it was so different the way he understood me as a woman. And also, I liked the way that how he saw women. His perspective of women is not someone that he wants to reproduce with, it's a person.
The point that I made earlier, I think, really stands true here. Me and each of my relationships with men and women has different dynamics, a lot. Like with men, like I mentioned before, there's oftentimes a power dynamic or a competition dynamic or why are we in this friendship together? And people have many different motivations, but in the end, if that friendship is you have mutual respect, you are committed to each other on a certain level, and you both know what's expected of each other, and you operate within that, which men and women do. This is a very real thing.
But these studies say that there's this disconnect.
Okay, and
There's-
so you
and
mentioned
there
a
is
lot
a
of
sexual. what I'm saying is that between them, it's different with the different ages. But the study shows that there was sexual attraction.
Okay,
It's
so
not-
now let me get to this.
It's not
Okay,
just the
This
difference.
attraction that you keep on telling and Darwinian biological.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else.
Yes, I thought so.
Getting angry.
So
She
it's
controlled
biological
herself.
risky.
Go ahead.
Biological instinct. Doesn't that say that then we are attracted to our fathers, brothers, and cousins then because they're of the opposite gender?
Well, Freud would
Evolution.
say that. Yeah.
Right, yeah, right.
Let's not go
weird.
there.
Right, no, but what she's saying, it's a great point. That's a case where most people, right, don't do that, don't cross that line, and like you said, the Freudian perception of that would be yes, it could be possible that people would think about it. Some people do and actually act on that, right, and that's illegal, right, and that's a bad thing. This is also it's a matter of self-control and rules, and these are the kind of rules that you would have in place with a relationship with someone from the opposite sex.
Okay, I just wanted to interrupt you there because we hit bullseye.
Okay.
We hit bullseye. So we hit bullseye, and it's a clear win for the yes team. So congratulations.
Victory.
Good job, guys. We're just happy to be here on Shooters Changing Hearts.
And minds, yes.
Yeah.
Making the world a better place. So
Right.
what really convinced you in the end, the no team? Charles, I'm surprised
Well,
that
like I
you-
said from the beginning, in theory, happily, they should be friends, and I mean they should be able to be friends. But I believe in reality, it's very rare, and I believe in myself that it doesn't work.
Would you be
I'm
willing
just
to
saying
give it a
very
try?
nicely. I say what I say, and you guys know I'm
Okay.
gonna like come attack you, but that's just what I believe. That
We
it's
like
very
you just
rare.
as you are.
Yeah.
Thank you very
We
much.
respect
So you weren't really convinced. What about Marge and Barry?
I mean, I like the fact that they do acknowledge that there are differences between opposite gender relationships and friendships versus same gender relationships. But you know what? Yeah, like there are differences, but it might be possible.
Yeah,
I
but
do have girlfriends.
that's exactly what you were saying earlier, that every relationship is unique in its own way, and like you can be friend with male or female, you can be friend with your dog, with your cat, or with a bird that you have at home, or with your own doll or imaginary friend.
That's all
So,
my friends.
Yeah,
Your
That-
imaginary friend?
all of them are friends.
Right.
So
Okay.
Yeah.
So we need to come up with a unifying statement, of course. And since you did win, we'll give you sort of a shot at it.
any ideas?
I was thinking something along the lines of friendships come in all shapes and sizes, and yes, men and women can be friends.
So all shapes and sizes, sexes, yes, they all come in
Yeah,
different
right.
I
types.
think we limit ourselves if we don't think like that and how we perceive the world. Like.
Are you happy with that statement?
Yes.
Yes,
Are you,
I'm happy.
Are you content, Barry?
I'm very content.
Would you be
to
willing to give it a
accept
go
your-
and accept Chinese male friends too?
But it's
Oh gosh, no, I still wouldn't be happy to accept that. Everything else I'm good with.
One
but-
step at a
but
time.
yeah.
One step
one
at a
step at a
time.
time.
Shall
I've seen recently, actually, we talked about this before in weddings in America and in Europe too. Like instead of best man, you have a female that is your best man, or maid of honor that is actually a guy.
Yeah, that started to happen in the States too.
Sweden, of course.
This
Oh,
in
it's
America, does
definitely
it
in
have to
America
go?
too now.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I know some people that have gotten married, and the best man was
You know
was
my best
actually a
friend's
woman.
wedding though.
Right.
The movie.
Yeah, my
That's
best friend's
Hollywood.
wedding.
Okay.
But that,
right,
you're
well-
also saying Hollywood.
So this week, Shooters asked, can men and women be just friends? And Shooters answered, friendship comes in all shapes and forms, and each friendship is unique. So the answer is yes. And I think we can all agree, definitely, that in whatever shape and form, friendships enrich our lives and it makes our world a better place. So here's to great friendships in all shapes and forms. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again next time for more Shooters. Bye-bye.
I still stood up from there.
Nice. That was a fun.